In April 2019, the Irish District Energy Association launched the first ever Irish Heat Atlas. In this video, I'll give you a quick peek of how the Heat Atlas works and where to find it. So to get it, you go to districtenergy.ie and you click on the Heat Atlas tab, which is on the homepage of the Irish District Energy Association. Under this tab, you'll see a picture of the Heat Atlas, and if you click on that picture, it will open up the interactive Heat Atlas tool, which is freely available online. Once the Heat Atlas loads up, you can accept the pop-up window, which gives some background information, and then you can start to explore the various different layers and to get the information that you might find interesting. To show you the layers, I'll zoom into Dublin, which we know has a very good district heating potential and therefore is a nice use case to demonstrate what the Heat Atlas provides. So the first layer I'll show you is the heat demand densities, and this basically shows you the areas that are suitable for district heating from very, very high potential, which is over 300 terajoules per kilometer squared, to likely feasible in the future, which is the 20 to 50 terajoules per kilometer squared areas. To put this in context, any countries that have a mature district heating sector would definitely have converted all areas in red and purple in this map. So by zooming in and out of the map, you can look at specific areas and see what would the potential be for these areas based on the heat that they currently consume today. Importantly, these heat demand densities represent the total heat that's consumed in all buildings, residential and commercial. If you can't find an area by simply zooming in and zooming out for where you're looking for, you can type in the address in this address bar at the top of the atlas. So for example, I've typed in St. Stephen's Green here in the center of Dublin, and as you can see, the map takes me to that area, and I can see it's in a purple area, so it's that area around Stephen's Green is highly feasible for the development of district heating into the future. The other interesting tool I can use when looking at this is my measurement tool. For example, I can click on measurement up here and look to measure the distance across the areas that are suitable for district heating. This can be very useful when looking at how far pipes may have to travel to go from certain buildings to other buildings, and may be useful when you're using the Heat Atlas itself. If I turn off this heat density layer, another layer I can turn on is the likely cost of developing the network in these various different areas. As expected, when you turn this layer on, the cost of developing the network per unit of heat is much cheaper in the city centre, where you're getting a lot of heat for a very short pipe. Whereas as you go out into the suburbs, apologies, the map takes a few seconds to just load. I'll just go to the, as you can see, when you go to the suburbs, the cost per unit of heat of developing the pipework increases. This is because you're paying for more pipe and covering less heat over that area. Finally, the last layer on the Heat Atlas for now is something called the prospective supply areas. This layer, when I turn it on, you can see shows a layer grayed in to show what it would happen if you combined all the areas that are suitable for district heating. And one very interesting piece of information from this Heat Atlas is that if I click on these areas, it highlights the outer border of where these district heating networks would be developed to, and gives you a pop-up with some information about what's actually happening within that potential district heating system area. So for example, if all of the district heating feasible in Dublin was developed and these schemes were connected to one another within the local area, this is the outline of where the Dublin district heating scheme would stretch. I get the total heat demand for that area, along with a breakdown of how it's divided between the different layers of heat density. You also can see the area covered by this total district heating system. This can be a very useful tool in looking at what will happen in places like Dublin in the long term, but for smaller towns it can be very useful for looking at what could happen even in the short term. For example, if I just jump here to a random town in the Midlands, Tullamore, I can click on that small town and see that this has a total area of 5 square kilometres and a total heat demand of 659 terajoules per year, and that potentially could be a district heating system developed in that town in the short term. Again, I can use my measurement tool to look at what kind of distances would the pipework need to travel to cover that entire town of Tullamore. So hopefully you find the information useful within the Heat Atlas. This is only version 1. We're planning to add some updates in the coming months, such as excess heat supply sources like power plants, waste incinerators, and potentially renewable heat sources could be used to supply the district heating networks viable in Ireland in the future. Thanks for listening.